Hello everyone. Well, it's a not so sunny southwest Scotland. It's cloudy, it's crap, and I wish I was back in Valencia. However, the only good thing about this is that I'm sleeping at night because, as I've mentioned in the last video, but in Valencia we had no aircon. So imagine trying to sleep 30 degrees, 29 degrees in the evening, trying to get the everything wide open as we could do. No breeze. It was like insufferable. So one good thing about coming back to Scotland is that sleeping at night a lot better, but during the day I'm miserable as fuck. So anyway, I did mention it on my last video. When was that again? Oh, it's the day after I came back from Valencia, obviously. And I did that song, which by the way, just in case you may be interested, I still haven't finished because it's just I've been working. Anyway, got things to do. So I will finish it hopefully more sooner than later. I did mention in my previous video that there was this letter that had been released on July the 29th when I was actually still in Valencia. Oh, God bless Valencia. And I just thought I'd discuss this because it opened, you know, I read it. I'd read it while I was over there. And then I've read it since, and I just thought, wow, this opens up a whole new can of worms. But anyway, so basically, as you know, letters that goes out to the elders have to read it, and the elders get a little side letter to say, this is how we want you to read the letter. And firstly, it said, for elders, for arseholes, attending in-person meetings has always been a personal expression of each Christian's faith. When shepherding the brothers and sisters, be loving, wow, wait, that'd be a first. Listen patiently and stick to scriptural principles as you assist them to respond to these reminders from the heart. We are confident you will follow direction from the branch office while being careful not to go beyond things that are written or impose arbitrary rules. So, yeah, going beyond the things that were written, that's I must remember that scripture a little bit more often when I speak to the cultures, because consistently Jehovah's Witnesses have gone beyond things that were written and given explanation of Bible prophecy, which ends up being a lot of bollocks. So they have gone beyond the things that are written. They're saying, yes, this is a fulfillment of the scripture, and it ends up being a lot of pish. So basically, yeah, so basically this letter is supposed to be read by an elder who's a good reader. So I'm not a particularly good reader, and I'll try my best here. But anyway, so it's dated July the 29th. It would have been read over the past, past 7 days. So anyway, it's really interesting. So for congregations, number one, attending in-person meetings. In reviewing the results of resuming in-person congregation meetings since April the 1st, 2022, it is evident that Jehovah is clearly blessing this arrangement. Now, what we're about to read would suggest that completely the opposite. We thank Jehovah for the opportunity to get to greet our brothers and sisters face to face, sing songs of praise to Jehovah harmoniously, and make other appropriate expressions of Christian affection once again. I don't know what that means. Anyway, a couple of scriptures I just put in there in case you're interested in reading them. I'm not, I can't be arsed. So it goes. After more than 2 years of not being able to meet together at our Kingdom Halls, we have renewed appreciation for in-person Christian meetings that lift our spirits and strengthen our faith during these difficult times. On to paragraph 2. We acknowledge that because of advanced age, infirmities or other circumstances, some may be limited in their ability to attend meetings in person. For such ones, please keep in mind the loving reminder of Bible scripture, who gives a toss, God is not unrighteous so as to forget your work and the love you showed for his name by ministering and continuing to minister to the holy ones. Another misapplication, but hey ho. Paragraph 3. On the other hand, this is fantastic, this bit. On the other hand, some brothers and sisters younger, so basically it's saying, it's quite simple. The previous paragraph said, yes, there's those who can't attend the meetings anymore because they're advanced in age and they're more closer to death than life. And they you know, it's a struggle for them to get to the meetings, and yet there are, as we'll crack on to paragraph 3, some brothers and sisters, younger and in good health, have more favourable circumstances that may allow them to attend Christian meetings regularly at the Kingdom Hall. However, it has been observed that some have developed a tendency to attend meetings on a video conference when, according to their circumstances, they could be physically at the Kingdom Hall. If this is our situation, this is obviously addressing the people watching the meeting from video conferencing. We're talking to you, not to you lot. To you lot here. As this is our situation, we can ask ourselves the soul-searching question, can I put forth greater effort to worship Jehovah in person? Then paragraph 4 goes on, obviously, a few scriptures in there. We capture a sense of Jehovah's thinking on this important matter by reviewing the following scriptures. Now, this is typical of the witnesses, where they just bung in a few scriptures and they just cut and paste them as they like. They misapply them, but if the shoe fits, let's shoehorn the scripture into the shoe so it sort of fits. So we get Psalm 22:22. I will declare your name to my brothers in the midst of the congregation. I will praise you. Oh, they didn't have kingdom halls back then, but never mind. 1 Corinthians 14:23. The whole congregation comes together in one place, and again, no kingdom halls. And 3 John 14. I am hoping to see you soon. We'll speak face to face. How does that apply? I am hoping to see you soon. I will speak face to face. Ah dear, bizarre. So anyway, number 5. It goes on to say, we encourage you to consider prayerfully the aforementioned scriptures and do research on the subject in our publications, perhaps during your next family worship or personal study session. Of course, each one should show balance, reasonableness and love, so that we do not unnecessarily put others at risk by attending meetings in person if we test positive for COVID-19, if display cold or flu-like symptoms, or have recently been exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Please contact elders if you have questions in this regard. If we are attending via video conference or by some other means, we should still view the meeting as part of worship and sacred service. Remembering this should affect how we dress during and act during a meeting and a seminar or convention. We need to ask ourselves, so this is basically addressing the people who sit and video conference in their pyjamas or their, or their onesies or their jeans and their Metallica t-shirts. It says, even if it's not possible for me to be physically at the Kingdom Hall, do I still show the same respect for the programme? Are there ways I can improve that area? In other words, are they sitting down with their Always the Way t-shirt, listening to Always the Way, while watching Always the Way videos in the background, while, allegedly looking at the meetings? I hope somebody is doing that. It'd be lovely if somebody's actually watching Always the Way on video. That'd be excellent. As for the t-shirts, you can't buy them. So anyway, on to number 7. Strong faith and endurance are required to face deteriorating world conditions. Well, we thought the past 2 years were, really a struggle for a lot of people, sort of life and death struggle, more importantly. So we take the opportunity to warmly commend you, dear brothers and sisters, for your faithfulness, love, and heartfelt desire to praise our glorious God, Jehovah, the monster. We love you very much. And governing body members, Stephen Lett and Chalmers. So there you go, there's the letter. So why I thought this was so interesting is because what I hadn't thought of, I actually thought that once it was like doors are open, we're all welcome back. In my mind, I just thought all the Jehovah's Witnesses will actually be flooding back in to just enjoy the association again, which they'd missed out on 2 years. I never thought, and I don't know why this never occurred to me, and it should have. I should have thought about this a little bit more, but it never occurred to me that that wouldn't happen. That's the dog. That would. Where's he off? Be quiet. Hey. It never thought to me that wouldn't happen. I actually just thought, yeah, it'll be a big massive love fest and everybody will be back. It'll be, I wonder if they're hugging each other, still doing the old elbows, I don't know. But there'll be this big love fest in the Kingdom Halls and everybody return and sit back in their seats. Well, apart from the seats where the person used to sit there is now dead. But anyway, all the people who survived the COVID purge of the Jehovah's Witnesses, would go back. I never thought for 1 second that all of a sudden people would stop going back to the Kingdom Halls, even though they've been fully vaxxed and just decided not to go back. Now, there's two probably categories that of people who are no longer going back. This goes in. Number one category, who's the most important in this respect, is the ones that prior to COVID-19 were probably physically in but mentally out. They were still in the same routine of going to, that's quoting a song by Always the Way, which Dino Facchini, the drummer, wrote in 1984, I believe, when we were all witnesses. Oh dear, all those songs we wrote about being a happy witness. Oh dear, how it came to bite us on the horses. So anyway, they're all happy to go into the same routine of just attending meetings because they couldn't see, because they've been going for so long, they just couldn't get out of that routine of just going to all the meetings. Either they're sitting there thinking, you know what, I think this is probably a lot of big hairy bollocks. But they go along because that's where they get to see all their chums, all their friends, all their subjects. They've been doing it for so many years and they don't want to let people down. They don't want people to be talking about them. They don't want elders visiting. They don't want the mum and dad to be, looking at them, in all that way that you feel when you go to the meetings that you must just attend, because if you miss back then, if you miss meetings, it was a big deal. If you miss going out on field service, well, I hate to call it field service because carting isn't field service. If you felt obligated to stand next to carts and not speak to anybody, the silent witnesses, aka the carters, and you just went through that because you've been doing it for so many years, and you couldn't miss the meetings. And then you couldn't not forsake the gathering of yourselves together. I don't know why that scripture's not in there. I'm sure it is a scripture. I'm sure that was quoted many, many times. Why is that not there? Bizarre. And then all of a sudden, the thing that allegedly Satan the devil have been trying to do since the witnesses all started off in their newfangled religion, that in the late 19th century, is that all of a sudden the governing body themselves actually told them to forsake the gathering of themselves together and just said, that's it, the kingdom halls are closed. That's it, the preaching work is stopped. Fundamentally, the governing body put an end to the preaching work, which allegedly Satan's trying to be doing for, decades, by getting oppressive governments in charge, or dictators, or so forth, that trying to influence the youth to pass legislation to ban witnesses from preaching. And yet, all of a sudden, the governing body themselves, the people responsible for keeping the preaching going in the world, actually told the Jehovah's Witnesses no longer to preach. How ironic is that? So, of course, if you were then, really struggling, and I reckon thousands must have been, because of how long this is dragging on, all of a sudden COVID kicks in and you think to yourself, you know what, this could be it. All the things coming from the governing body were this, we knew this was going to happen. They're probably thinking this is the very last major event that's going to occur before Armageddon comes. All of a sudden, if you imagine if you're a wee witness, all of a sudden the kingdom halls are gone, the preaching stopped, and you think, this is part of the sign. It's all stopped. It wasn't the way that Jehovah's Witnesses thought. They maybe thought it was like the governments would do this, but they haven't. The governments had to have been involved. All religion, if you imagine, at that time, near enough every temple, every mosque, any church, closed. All the governments, turned on Babylon the Great. Really, and they probably would have thought, oh shit, this is it. This is finally it. But then they thought, shit, I thought once all the rest of the churches and the synagogues and mosques and so forth, once they're all closed down, that we would still be going, no, you're not going to stop us attending the Kingdom Hall. No, you're not going to stop us preaching. That's what the brothers have told us. And yet, all of a sudden, the instruction were, no, you're not doing it either. And they're thinking, shit, okay, right, we'll see how this pans out. And of course, as it went on and on, next thing is literally millions of people around the world started down there thinking, this has got to be it. We're on the cusp of Armageddon. It's imminent. And then, of course, all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on. You may have heard locally that, brother so-and-so is not well, brother elders died, sister very elderly's died. Brother very, 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 very elderly's died. Brother who's on the verge of dying anyway has died of COVID. Brother nursing home has died, plus sister nursing home has died. And you would probably thought of some elder ones that have made out of the congregation. When all of a sudden, of course, the governing body themselves stated that, I think it was like 26,000 Jehovah's Witnesses had died. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, you must be thinking to yourself, well, this doesn't make any sense, because we are just the same as any other religion. What makes us set apart from any other religion? Nothing, because we're just the same as every other religion, because we, like them, are dying in our thousands. And to be a Jehovah's Witness, expecting at that time, imagine they were expecting during, the Great Tribulation that, the worship you get is maybe jailed or locked up. They didn't think that maybe during this tribulation of COVID-19 that, 26,000 of them would die. It's actually now 30,000, I believe. So they never think that 30,000 of them would die. It would have completely blown their mind if there's somebody who literally thought that somehow their God would protect them. Trying to find, the cognitive dissonance kicking in here as they're trying to justify the kingdom all shut when they thought the doors remain open. The carting work brought to an end when they thought that nothing would stop the preaching work, that it'd always go on. Told to stay at home, no protection from Jehovah, and 30,000 of them dying. At this point, although they've got the Zoom meetings, but they're thinking to themselves, what's going on here? Where's the protection? How are we going to replace the 30,000 that have died? So as you can imagine, therefore, that if you were somebody like that, a Jehovah's Witness like that, who was really struggling prior to COVID-19, all of a sudden, you must be thinking, you know what? It is pure pish. Do you know what? We're not a special people. You know what? We are not blessed by Jehovah. How does he bless us? This whole thing that little thing says, that Jehovah's blessing the arrangement for them for the by people coming back. Clearly Jehovah is blessing the arrangement. He can't be blessing the arrangement when 30,000 previous attendees are now dead. He can't be blessing the arrangement when it's obviously that thousands of people have no longer returned to the kingdom halls. How's that blessing? It's bizarre. How's that blessing? It's just, what a spin on complete, on 30,000 dead and thousands no longer attending the meetings. How's that a blessing? Well, that's Jehovah's Witnesses for you. They'll look for a blessing in well, I don't know, getting your loaf of bread and finding out it's mouldy. Oh, Jehovah's blessing. At least it wasn't like 2 slices of mouldy bread. It's unbelievable. So for people like that, they must be thinking, you know what? I don't want to go back to the kingdom hall. I don't want to go back to constantly failing to reach the mark set by the witnesses and by this Jehovah God. I'm feeling that, why am I here? Anybody like that. So I can just understand why these people now are just zooming in. I don't know if you zoom in, I don't know if it just suddenly comes up like, Brother Pimo is zooming in. Does it actually come up, their names, so people can go, yeah, they're zooming in, I can see them, he's wearing an Always Away t-shirt, not really. They're zooming in, I don't know how it works. Do they take an account of who's zooming in? I don't really know. I don't know how it works. But at the end of the day, it's clearly thousands of people around the world, because they've had to write this letter, have decided, not because of COVID, not because of the fear of COVID-19, they're probably still going to Tesco's. They're probably still reaching over somebody's arm to say, excuse me, while I just get some sprouts. If I talk about sprouts, I tried to get them the other week, and there was none in Morrison's. The great sprouts shortage of 2022. Maybe it's not the sprout season, I don't really know. And they still do that. And it's bizarre, if you think about it. Once restrictions were lifted, everybody wanted to go back to attending football matches. Everyone wanted to go back to going to concerts, going to the cinema, going out for meals, going to theatres, going to all these things. Everybody was dying to go back to what they used to do before COVID, apart from Jehovah's Witnesses. who clearly weren't dying to go back to that previous life. Because during the 2 years that they weren't going to the hall, they just thought, shit, what am I going to do with all this time? I don't have to go to the meetings anymore. You know, I don't have to spend all that time going to the meetings. What am I going to do? And all of a sudden, I think they just discovered the extra pleasures that life can hold. In other words, they may have then, you know, started hobbies that they should have been doing all this time, but they couldn't because they spent all this time fanning about in the witnesses. You know, all of a sudden they probably discovered, you know, that they could, you know, I'll try to learn a different language. I'll try to learn and play guitar and finish that song I wrote the other day, or 20 years ago. You know, painting, walking, visiting monuments, just all those things that they were for 2 years were not allowed to do. You know, just all of a sudden recontacting people, maybe going online and watching videos from a video channel, Jehovah's Witnesses Beliefs Discuss, and actually thinking, that guy's got a point. I don't know, just you can imagine Jehovah's Witnesses for 2 years all of a sudden realising that, guess what? I don't miss this. I don't miss going to the Kingdom Hall. You know, all of a sudden I've got time, I've got, you know, all of a sudden I've discovered, you know, I've only got maybe 40 years of my life left or whatever, but, you know, I've accomplished so much more in those 2 years than I've done in all the 40 years I was a witness. So I could just imagine, you know, it was, I think COVID-19 is a game changer of the witnesses. To lose 30,000 and still people are dying of COVID, it ain't gone away, it's still here sadly, and then you've got the thousands have not returned, they're still not doing house to house door chapping, they're just still standing there like complete silent arseholes, not speaking to anyone. I don't see how the witnesses will ever recover from the figures they had for attendance, for attendees and the amount of witnesses that they had. I don't think that figure will ever recover. I don't think, I think now it's just going to go down and down. You know, I really don't, I think this could be, it's not going to be obviously the end of Jehovah's Witnesses, but I think they'll never have the viewing figures that they had. A bit like The Walking Dead. Well, it was pretty good for a few good seasons, and all of a sudden it got very repetitive, and then you couldn't really care. A bit like Outlander was the same as again, pretty good for a couple of seasons, and then it went a bit shit. And so it's a bit like that, so now you just can't wait for it to, you know, to go away. Outlander and the Walking Dead, obviously. You know, pretty, yeah, isn't it? But I think it was the same with the witnesses. Pretty good, and all of a sudden now, I don't give a shit. And I'm going to get interested in something else. So there's that group of people. Then there's the other group of people who I know an awful lot about. And that was the group of people that would have included me. In other words, I was of a group of people who getting to the Kingdom Hall would have been an absolute effort. Because when I was brought up, we didn't have a car. And for us to get to the Kingdom Hall, it was like a good half-an-hour walk. And we did that, you know, rain, sun, shine, sleet and snow, freezing temperatures, and we did that back in the days when, you know, when spiritual food was more bountiful, before like all of a sudden there was less slim pickings and they got rid of the book study's gone. Well, we used to have to then walk to somebody's house, and the person's house we went to is a guy called Bill Strobage's house, and they only had a certain selection of seats. So the kids, and they weren't kids, these are people between like 15 and 18 or 19, we had to sit on the floor. And these are the back in the days where everybody wore flares. And for those who don't know what flares are, basically it was a pair of trousers where basically your leg was about as wide as that. So, you know, the actual came down a pair of flares, which covered your platform shoes. And your platform shoes probably about as tall as that as well. And you had to sit on the floor, and of course you walked to the group, and of course you sit on the floor and your arse is completely soaked, and your flares are soaked, and it's just a miserable experience. And we used to walk to the Kingdom Hall, and bizarrely an elder used to pass us, brother not a good Samaritan elder used to pass us. I'm not going to name names because he's actually dead, but his name was Brother Blythe, and he used to pass us, and you know, he always had 2 spare seats in his car because it was him and his wife and his son, and he used to pass us, and he used to, like, as he's passing, it was like this, clearly not glancing to our side as he sees me mum, me and my brother sort of walking to the Kingdom Hall in the rain. I think I can count on the years that he passed us. I think maybe 5 times he actually gave us a lift, because maybe his son wasn't there that time, or his wife wasn't there, you know, and so basically, yeah, we struggled on. And for other people, when I moved to Rutherglen, for instance, I still didn't have a car, and I used to live in a place called Castlemilk, and where all the witnesses, who went to the Rutherglen congregation used to get the number 46 bus. So again, all weather, standing out there, pissing down, freezing cold. You'd have to leave pretty early to try and get the number 46 bus down. I'm not too sure whether the 46 went down to the Kingdom Hall or stopped at Rutherglen Main Street, but then you had a walk again. And you had other brothers within the Rutherglen congregation who were extremely wealthy. They were usually the elders. And of course they never took into consideration all the brothers and sisters who had to get to the Kingdom Hall using public transport, and for a lot of them came from divided homes, whereupon before they left the Kingdom Hall they'd have to satisfy their, their partner by making sure that his dinner was cooked, otherwise it lose the plot when they came back. The kids were fed. Sometimes they might not have enough time to have the dinner themselves. We'll then have to get them all dressed, as you have to do for the meetings, all in your Sunday best, not just on the Sunday but also on the Thursday and on the Tuesday. And then you go and stand out there, it's freezing cold, the kids don't really want to be there. You go down to the Kingdom Hall, you go to the bus stop, then you have to walk down, and then you're sitting there, and you know that this is like, your kids have got school the next day, and then maybe got homework that night as well, and you're not going to get back quite late. The reasoning is because there's an arsehole elder on the platform who doesn't give a toss that these families who've got to get maybe one or even two buses are going to miss their only bus near the Kingdom Hall, because he has decided that what he's got to say is more important than these people getting home. And one particular elder, I used to do the sound in Rutherglen, and next to us we had two switches. One switch flicked on a green light at the back of the Kingdom Hall, so that the only person who could see it was the guy speaking, and he could look up, see it, and it sort of flashed, and it stayed on green, it never flashed, stayed on green, to say, you've got 1 minute, wrap it up. And then you put on a red light, so then a green light, a red light, the red light said, it's now time to leave the platform, you complete arsehole. Anyway, what this particular time, most people were not too bad, but this one particular time, there's one brother up there, and I don't know whether the meeting was running late, I don't think there's a cumulative running late, and I think he was doing a thing on a thing called, I think it was called the Kingdom Ministry, I can't remember, and you could just see this was running late. And he was just enjoying the sound of his own voice too much and taking questions, asking questions and giving answers and talking shit. And so basically what happened was I gave him the green light. I'm not going to mention the brother's name, well I will, his name's Johnny Allen, a complete utter arsehole. So anyway, Johnny Allen's up there and I gave him the green light, it stays on green, and he's not wrapping up. And we're approaching, I think, 5 to 9. I'm sure the meeting was supposed to finish at 5 to 9, say a song and a prayer, and everybody exits. It was either 5 to 9 or 10 to 9, I can't remember. And these people had to get a bus. And of course, what they couldn't do is leave mid-song or mid-prayer. Because, they left before the meeting ended. And they'd feel bad, I left before the meeting ended. So I'm just going to have to be late and face the wrath of my partner and go back for bringing the kids home late. But anyway, this arsehole, Alan, he decided to keep on speaking and speaking. And next thing, I started pressing this button. So literally the lights going, bam, 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 bam. In other words, I was doing SOS. I was doing the Morse code. Get off the platform, you arsehole. I was trying to do it like this. Get off the, well, I didn't know Morse code, but you get the drift. And this arsehole refused to get off. And as a result, the meeting went late, and these people went out and they missed their bus because he thought what he had to say was more important than them getting home to the house, getting the kids to bed. Not for the husband saying, what sort of time do you call this to be bringing the kids back home on a Thursday night when they've got school in the morning? And this arsehole, if I remember rightly, used to drive a BMW. I'm sure he always had nice big cars. It's a shame that he never offered to actually take them home for the inconvenience of him liking his own voice more than anything else. So for ones like this, where just to get to the Kingdom Hall is just epic, just a trial and tribulation every single time. All of a sudden, for 2 years, they didn't have to go through that. All of a sudden, they could just literally take the time having the dinner. The husband, he's happy, he's watching whatever Sky Sports. Go upstairs with your laptop, with your kids or whatever, and sit down. Wear your Sunday best, not your always the way t-shirts, and just zoom in. And I imagine for lots of people like that, they just thought, you know what, it's just not worth the hassle. If it was good enough, if for 2 years I was still getting spiritually fed and felt connection to the Kingdom Hall, why should I physically have to be there when the governing body said beforehand that zooming in was fair dues, that the circuit assemblies, so district assemblies, again, do they have circuit assemblies anymore? Don't go. The district assemblies were zoomed, so it was good enough then. So all of a sudden they're thinking, you know what, especially with the cost of travel going up, where people who are poor are literally struggling, you know, do we put some more coins in the meter for heating, or do we buy food, you know, for the kids? That's a real struggle for people. So for people like that, I can understand why they no longer go back to the meetings. I can understand why they prefer to zoom in. So there you go. That's all I have to say about the subject. Yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's an end of an era, to be honest with you, in a lot of senses. Let's just have a quick catch up on the organ grinder's patron figure while we're all together. Let's see. Oh, please, I hope I've got this on mute because I can't stand hearing his voice. Hold on. Yes, it's on mute, so you don't have to hear him. Yeah. Oh, he's a patron. Right, so let's check the patron figures for the organ grinder. Oh dear, dear, dear. It was like 499. All of a sudden it reached that zenith of, went to 499, then it dropped to like 471. Then it was like 465, and then all of a sudden it went up to 481. I was staggered. But obviously at certain points it drops down, and I think obviously last time I checked it was about 481. Now it's down to 461. So no wonder he's recently tweeted that he wants somebody to come over to his apartment in Zagreb and not cost the earth, and just to clean up for him, because obviously he's such a fat, lazy, useless bastard that, you know, obviously I think all the cleaning duties were delegated to Mrs. Evans, not Mr. Evans, and he's obviously trying to get somebody who says, "I love you a long time," to pay them literally pennies, you know, to clean his apartment, because he's so busy. Busy doing what, I don't know, because as we know, the guy's workshop Evans, he doesn't really work, and I don't see how doing this, especially as obviously Gracious T-Board does most of the editing, I don't see how talking once a day for maybe half an hour constitutes work personally. You know, I do this at all, and yet I still manage to hold down several jobs. So why this fat useless bastard can't do the same, I don't really know. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about the subject. I've got another video in mind I want to do about something which came up when I was in Kelsall speaking to the first guy that, well, he wasn't doing cartoons, he was actually doing something called preaching, bizarrely. And it's an interesting thought, because quite often when I speak to witnesses, it's only after the event I go, oh, I wish I should have said that. But it's too late to say it now to him, because I probably will never see him again in my life. But it's an interesting thought that he came up with, and I just would like to sort of, you know, go straight on to him and speak to him. Because so I'll have to speak to him instead and just say, this is what he said, but this is what I should have said to him in return. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. It's a hell of a long video, this one, but never mind. So I don't mind if you never made it to the end, or gave up, or you know, or eventually was reduced to drink watching this video. But anyway, if you stuck to the end, well done you. I'm off. Goodbye. Things to do, people to see, places to go. One of them is not the Kingdom Hall. Bye bye.